Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now because we're going to go ahead and start learning about paragraph spacing, which is very, very important, especially for this assignment that we're going to be working on. So, whoop, whoop, whoop. Don't look, don't look, don't look. I forgot to change this back. Don't look, don't look. I think it's set up for something like, oh, I forget what the default, shoot. But I know it's something. Maybe it's something like that. Okay, we'll just do that. All right, so what we're going to be talking about right now is called paragraph spacing. And that basically means just the distance between the lines, the distance between your lines in your document. And so I had to quickly adjust mine back to something that is not a defaulted size that I created. So in other words, when you turn on your Microsoft Office and you start typing, you might notice that there's a gap that's a little bit big every time you hit enter. There's a gap between the two lines. We call that the line spacing. I had to adjust my line spacing to be a defaulted size or spacing that we used back in 2003. For whatever reason, and I really, to be honest with you, do not know what the reason is for this, because it makes no sense. When they updated the newer version of Microsoft Word, they gave the paragraph spacing some space. They gave a lot more space than a single, which meant that the lines would actually be on top of each other. Instead, they're like a little ways apart from each other. And it's kind of annoying because when you type something, it'll start looking a bit gappish, like too much space between the information. So we're going to be learning how to fix that through paragraph spacing. And when you type, and I'm a little thrown off because I actually took this feature away from me, so that way I can't actually show you how it really is. On the computer at school, of course, I can't adjust those defaults, so it would really show you that. But I'm just kind of giving you a wing of I'm going to wing it, the sizes. But let's say I type this up, and every time I hit enter, there was some space like this between the lines. Right now, it doesn't seem like that's such a big deal. But the problem is when you actually start creating this invitation and making things larger and, making things look kind of a little bit more stylized, you're going to find that you might end up with just this much on a second piece of paper, because the spacing between the lines, that stuff matters. It matters when you make adjustments. So when you first type your document out, you're going to have some space. What I recommend is to go ahead and type your whole document out. I do a lot of my formatting. Matter of fact, let me back that up. I do all of my formatting after I actually type and get the words off the keyboard and onto the screen. I don't play around with any looks and changes or anything. I am the type of person that types everything up and then I'll go back and then I'll kind of work in layers. Go back and fix this up, go back and fix that up, right? So the first thing I do fix up is my line spacing. So to do that, you're going to highlight all your text. And I'm 100% guaranteed confident that when you type this invitation up, you will know exactly what I'm talking about, because you will see the spacing between the two lines. You're going to go, oh, that's what she meant by that. So highlight your text, and on the home ribbon, in this grouping, which is called the paragraph grouping, notice that these all have like little sections, like they're little sections. They're so cute. They're little sections off. They all have names for these sections, and we call these groupings. So this is your paragraph grouping. This is your font grouping. This is your clipboard grouping. Here are your styles grouping, right? So editing, voice, sensitivity, they all have their own groupings. Under your paragraph grouping, you have a shortcut here, which is the line and paragraph spacing shortcut. And this particular guy, it looks like you have the resize tool, right? Arrow going up, arrow down, and then it has the lines. That's your tool. You're not going to know that until you touch it gently with your pointer and let go. And then the screen tip will let you know that that is the correct tool. So what you want to do is you want to click on the arrow down. Now, there are numbers here, and these numbers, as I touch them, look at my screen, look at the words. There's 1.5, there's 2, there's 2.5. You can see that the space is growing. That means that this is 2.5 line space. That means in between each one of those sentences or lines, there's 2.5 lines of space in between them. That's what that means. This is 3 lines in between them. I don't use these guides ever. I've never used these guides. I just don't use them. I always go into line spacing options. I go into the options. I am an option girl 100%. I need more and I need options. So click on that left mouse because you want what's called the paragraph dialog box. So this is a dialog box. And I always say the dialog boxes are awesome because that means that people are trying to, the computer's trying to speak to us. And the computer speaking to us is what we need to be able to speak back to it. So the dialog box gives us that opportunity. Now, I highlighted too much. So let me be more specific with my highlight right to there. Now let's go back in line space options and let's talk about this. All right. So here's the issue. On your computer, because I just flubbed these numbers in. I forget what the actual numbers in. I think this is going to say 8 points, to be honest, on your computer. I think it's going to say 8 points. You have what's called spacing added into the normal line. If I ask for a single space, so let's just say I'm back here and I want one single space between my actual sentences or my lines. I'm not going to get 1 because your natural default is no longer at a 1. Your natural default has added space to the distance between the lines. This used to not be here. This used to be 0, 0, 0, 0, all the way up and down. No indentations and definitely no spacing before or after the line. That used to all be 0. So if it's all 0, that means there's no extra space. So if I ask for a single, I should get a single. But because you will find, and again, I think yours says 8 point, you will find some space here. That's why the work isn't sitting on top of each other. And this is why the work has space in between the lines. So what I always do is I highlight everything and I go into my space. So let's do that again. We highlight everything. We're going to go to our home ribbon. We're going to go to our paragraph and spacing tool, and we're going to click line options because none of this is going to work for me. I have to go back in. And why is none of this working for me? This is 1 line. This is 1.15, 1.5, 2. The reason why those don't work is because I have a 6 point, which is what I type. I believe yours says 8, spacing that's added to what's already existing here. So anything I add here is still not going to be true. It's not going to be true to size. And I hope this kind of makes sense because it's like me saying, I'll take a 2. I wear size 2 shoe, but when I go into the store, they're like, yeah, she wears a 2, but give her extra room in her shoe. I'm looking for a 2, and the computer's saying, sure, I'll give you the 2, but I'm going to add some extra to it. And this is what you don't want. You want it zeroed out. I need it all 0. So when I ask for a single, I am going to get lines that literally sit on top of each other like they used to in 2003 when everything was easier. I want it single. So click OK and look at the distance. Look at that. Everything got tighter. It scrunched up closer together. That is what an actual single used to look like on the screen when you typed. It used to look just like that, right? Now it's gappy because of that spacing that's in there. So you're always going to type first, or at least you should, because these aren't things that you really need to worry about while you're typing. This is like a quick fix after you type, because whatever you highlight, it's going to go to whatever you choose to do to it anyway. So if I highlight that and I go home and I come to my line spacing, it doesn't matter. As soon as I go into my space options, I'm going to be making everything 0 single, 0 single, 0 single, 0 single, and okay. And now I have my line spacing properly where it should be set at. Now on my computer, when I go to a blank document and I type something, when I hit enter, my single spacing is defaulted in. Defaulted means from factory. That means that you've made a new setting for yourself that you're going to be using, that you can consider like built in, like as if it was from factory. So this now, these lines are typed. So if you go to my home and you go into my line options, you're going to see that everything is zeroed out and it's single. I put these in here and I set it, because once I typed it up, I click set as the default, so that every single time I now open a blank piece of paper, I'm not having to come and adjust the lines all the time. I don't have to do that anymore, because I set my 0 single as the actual default. Every new document will always be this way. So for me, in my life, I don't worry about line spacing too much. It's pretty much done for me. On the new computers, like I said, after 2003, 2007, they started putting these gaps between the line by adding more space right here. I don't understand. Why are you adding more space right there? It's just like I said, it's like adding more to a shoe size you don't wear. I know I need a 2. Why are you giving me a 2.6? I don't need that. I need a 2, right? So this is the idea, is that you just zero it out, single it out, say okay, or just set as your default, because you're home now working on your own computers. If we were in class, I would say never set this default, because then the new student wouldn't learn when the computer, got all gappy. They wouldn't learn. Do I have any questions about this so far? Because I know I've gone over a lot of this. Okay, so let me ask some questions. Since we have no questions, let me go ahead and ask some questions, okay? So first question is, I typed this up and I realized that my spacing there's a lot of space in here, right? There's a lot of space between lines. How do I adjust the spacing on the line? Iris, get me started. What happened? Hello? Oh, is that me?
I hear you.
Can you hear me, Tomas?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what happened. It's like I don't have the
I don't see you.
yeah, I don't see anybody right now. Okay, but as long as you can you hear me, Iris? Let me stop sharing really quick. Hold on one sec.
Okay.